Okay. I'm going to talk about the simplified workflow. The purpose of this functionality is to make the use of the registry more flexible and applicable in other areas. And it is possible to select the option simplified workflow in the registry software installation, as you can see here. I'm going to hide this. What is the purpose of the simplified workflow? It allows you to publish directly without having to go through each of the steps and statuses established when making a change proposal. And you would not need a submitting organization to make the changes or the approval of the control body. It is centralized in a single user, and this option is available since version 2.5.0. And right now, I'm going to show you a small 1-minute video so you can see the simplified workflow in action. We are on the administration panel, and we have created an example register for this presentation purpose. And we're going to add a new item. We click on item, and here you can see the necessary fields that you have to fill in order to create this item. We fill them. Just wait for a couple of seconds while the items are written in the fields. And then we click on save. Now you will see that the item is created, but it's in draft status. So we are going to change the status from draft to valid. So we go to the registry manager, we click on publish, we confirm the publication. And then if we go back to review the status of the item, we will see that the status is changed to valid. And here you can see it. And let's continue with the presentation. Moving on to the users and groups, you will see that depending on the user's role, this means the group they belong to, the task displayed in the menu bar will change. For example, we have first the registry manager. As the registry manager can publish the changes accepted by the control body. The registry manager can additionally manage users and groups and manage the data export functionality. The register manager has as available option the publication of changes previously accepted by the control body. We also have the register submitter that acts as a submitting organization. It can discard the proposal unless this has already been submitted to the control body. And in this case, if the discard button is clicked, confirmation will be asked to the user. And finally, we have the control body. The control body can approve approve with changes or reject an action submitted by the submitting organization. Continue with the registry manager features. The registry manager has the highest privileges in the system and can perform different tasks. The registry manager can make an action on publications on the reference codes, can manage the structural elements of the system, can manage both users and groups, and also can manage the data export cache. Let's move on to users and groups. These that you can see here are the roles that the registry gets by default when an instance is created from scratch. So you have the registry manager, the owner, the register manager, the control body, and the submitting organization. This does not mean that these are the only roles that you can have. The system allows you to assign a user to one or multiple groups and also allows you to associate a group to one or more registers. Continuing with the groups, the registry creates default groups during installation, but custom groups can also be created. For this case, it's the registry manager the responsible of creating new groups. Moving on to the users, new users can also be created by the registry manager. When created, users are assigned to an existing group. But in this case, here you have a couple of security aspects you have to take into account related to the activation or deletion of the user. When created, the email associated to the user will receive an activation link. This email will also include a temporary password that must be changed when logging in for the first time. And related to the data export, this I hope will answer one of the questions that we had during the Q&A that we had before. The data export subtab allows the registry manager to run a complete Solar index and a complete cache of the items presented in the system. There are 4 main functionalities in this section. The Solar helps you easily run a full export of the registry data to the Solar index on the published items. You have to understand the Solar as an indexing functionality that allows the search function to work. It's like a search engine, so to speak. The cache all button runs the full cache on the active languages of the system. Then we have like a subset of the cache all that is for selected languages. With this, you run a full cache, but on the languages you select in the widget among the existing ones. This is a fairly new option, so it's available since version 2.5.3. And then we have the remove cache button that allows you to remove the index of all the cache items. And that's it for my part, so I'm going to give the floor to Irati.
Hi, so I'm going to present you the structure part. I'm going to introduce you to the structure tab of the Registry software. Before demonstrating it live, I want to highlight the most important part of this tab, showing you in some slides. So the structure tab gives the user the management of the data model for its entity in the registry system. This allows users to add and manage the fields. So the main page of the structure tab contains the list of the content classes available in a system. A content class is automatically created every time that a new register is created and added in the content tab. So here, as you can see in the picture, we have the action column that it has 3 icons. There are 3 buttons. The A icon is in order to view and manage fields. The pencil button is in order to edit. And the rubbish bin is in order to delete a content class. So when we click on the 8 button, we will go to the view and manage fields. And here we can do many aspects. Is where we can configure most of the aspects of the structure. So here we can, for example, change the field display order. We can establish events for a field, determine field visibility in the public interface, enable multi-value selections, set fields as required, and display fields in the available items table on the content page. So in order to show you better and to understand, I will go to the administration. Here we are in the admin panel. So as you can see, we click here and we go to the structure. Well, here we have the registry. We have, well, all the content class that are available in the system. We have the registry, the register. In this case, we have 2 registers and the item inside the register. So here in the table, we have the information, the key information of it. So we see the local ID that will be the identifier of the content class. Later, we have the type that we have 3 times in the system. That is the registry, register, and item. Here we see the parent that if this content class has a parent, it will here we wrote the name of the parent. For example, sample registry has as a parent the registry. Later in the base URI, it will show us the URI of our content class and the creation date. So now I will show you the A icon that is the managed field. That is the one that I show you on the slides. So if we go here in the upper part, as you can see, we have 3 buttons. The button that I will click on it. Here in the edit button, where it shows us a pop-up where we can see the local ID and the base URI. In this case, as this registry system, as the registry system has the register and the iter are all connected, most of the times maybe we cannot edit the local ID of the base URI because, as it says in this message, this content class cannot be edited because it has some child content and classes or some item associated. So it's not to have problems between the different levels. So here we have the cache class. As Xabier has explained, this is to make a recache of this level. If we don't want to make a whole recache, we can click on it and only this level will be recached. And the remove button is in order to remove this content class. We have also taken into account, as we have said in the edit button, that if there is a connection with another level, with a parent, with a child, we can remove this class because it will show us an error saying we cannot edit it as there are like connections between them. So here we have the add file that I will explain you later button. So I will explain before this table. So as I have said, we can change the display order just by draw and change the order. Here it wrote the label that is the name of the field. Here the type, in this case we have a test, long test, and a status. There are more types that I will show you later when we create a new field. Also, is hyperlinked. This means that if you check in one of these fields and you say that they are hyperlinked, when you go back to the content tab, you will see two boxes, and in one you reroute the information and the other you can put a link. Hidden in this case means that if you hit a field, it will show us in administration, but when we go to the public interface, it will not, we couldn't see it. We can in the administration fulfill it, but it will be not visible in the public interface. Multi-value, it's just to put more than one value in a field. And required is to establish that this field is required for this content class. This is really important because when we create item in the administration, well, it will show us an icon saying this field is required, but this is more important when we do a bulk import that I will explain you later, but just to keep in mind that are really important to know which fields we establish as required. And so in table, this is when we go to the content part, in the bottom part, we will see a table, and in this table, we see as many columns as fields we have checked here. In the action, well, we have, in this case, for example, the rubbish bin that will be just to delete a field. In this case, only appears in the definition field because the label and the status are fields that always appear in the item, so we cannot delete it because they are compulsory. So if we click here on the edit button, what it does is that we can change this name. Here we could put another name, in this case in English, but we can change in as many languages as we have in the system. So I will maintain the same here. Now, as well as you can see, this content class has only 3 fields, but we can add as many fields as we want. So I will go to add a field. In this case, we can add fields that already exist in the system. So for example, here we have a content summary that will be a test or a group reference that are not included in our item and we can include. So for example, I will the content class just to show that if we save it and we go back to the table, we have a new entry here. But also, you can create fields like customized fields, so new fields that are not already created in the system. So I will create a new one that will create a new field. So here you have to write ID, for example, example field. Here you just have to write the name you want to put in English. So example field also. And here it shows us how many field types we can write. We have a text, date, number, parent, successor, predecessor, relational reference, long text, date creation, and date edit. In this case, I'm going to create a relational reference just to show us what relational references are. And it's that inside the registry, you can create a field that reference to another registry, register, or register item. For example, I can put here and say that this new field will have a reference to the sample registered item field. Okay, so if we go here, you will see these two that, as I told you, as they are new, we can delete it and we will maintain the same. So it's not a problem if you create it and later you want to delete it. Okay, so I will go back to the structure to show us this button, that is the edit button, that is the same one that I show you in the structure dashboard. So is this pop-up with the local ID and the base URI, and as I have explained you, as there is a connection with the registry and it has also files, we cannot edit it. Also here, as you can see, if the type is an item, we have this plus icon. This plus icon is in order to add a child item class. So it's an item can have another item class inside. So for example, I will write here sample item class. I will create it. I want to save it, and if I want, we can delete it because as this is a new one and this doesn't have like a connection because it's inside the item, we can delete it without no problem. This will happen in this case in this one. If we click on here, it will pop up the message saying that we cannot delete it. And this is basically the structure tab. It's really important because in order to manage the registry, it's important here to know, well, to change everything that you want related to the fields. So now I'm going to explain you another part that is the bulk import and bulk edit process. So before making also a live demonstration in administration tab, I want to make a brief explanation of what bulk import and bulk edit is, and that I will answer also the question that was in the Q&A before. So bulk import and bulk edit is a feature that allows users to insert and make modification to multiple items at the same time. So this option is available since 2.5.2 version. So as I will explain later, but we have this button, the start bulk process, that when we click on it, it will appear two options that will be bulk import and bulk edit option. Later, when we click on one of them, it will pop up a message saying this is the message, where we can download a template that I will show you later on PCB template so you can check how to fulfill it. And later we click on it and we upload the file. So for example, as I have said, bulk import, bulk edit, even though they are in the same button, they are two separate processes. This is really important to take into account because when we are doing a bulk import, we cannot put items that are already created because we are missing the two processes, and it will show us an error message saying, for example, that this item already exists. So it's really important to take that into account. So for example, this is a PCB file that we can use in order to make a bulk import. So in this case, you have to fulfill all the fields that are required. That's why when I show you the structure tab, I told you that it's really important to know which fields are required, because maybe when you're doing in the user administration, you don't really care because it will appear icon saying that, but here in the registry, in the bulk import, you have to take that into account. Also, as you can see, the templates are separated by pipes. That is really important to maintain the structure. And when you fulfill your file and everything, you upload it, and it will appear here the item proposed. That well, I will show you later so we can see it better. Bulk edit, in this case, bulk edit is in order only to change those fields that you want to make a change. To make a bulk edit, it's mandatory to have the item's ID and the language in which you want to edit your item. So for example, in this case, maybe I want to change the label, but not the definition. So if you don't want to change the definition, it will maintain blank and no problem, because it only the definition will maintain the same as you have. And in order to check that, if you go to the admin panel, you will see in the list of pending items that you have made a modification of an item. So in order to show you, I will go back to administration. I will go to the content, and I will use the sample register that we have created. So here, as you can see, we have the start bulk process, and these two options will pop up. I will start with the bulk import, that, as I told you, you can here click on template, and it will download a template with all the saying that all the information you have to add, for example, local ID, language, label, and definition, that are the same that appear here. So, no, sorry, that appear here. So, for example, to make a bulk import, I already have here one prepared, so I will show you what you have to add. In this case, I'm only going to import one item. As I had said, this is to add multiple items, but it's just to be more clear when we add it in administration that the item is created by bulk import. So here you have to add a local ID. In this case, example item 5. You have to take into account that when you create one local ID, it doesn't exist, because if not, it will pop up an error saying that this item already exists. So later, the language, in this case, I will make the insert in English, the label that I wrote, sample item bulk import, and the definition, item created using bulk import. So if we go here, we go to the bulk import, choose file, this one, and start bulk import process. Here, as I said, it will show us a congratulations message saying that the bulk import process has been completed with success. So we go to the bottom part, we see that new items proposed that are pending. As you can see, they are in draft status. As my colleague has explained before, we have to go to submit an organization, and we go to the submit and say item import. I will submit it. Go to the control body and approve it, and later go to the registry manager and publish it. So if we go back to the content here, it will appear these two items, and this one that is the one that we just have created. So now, in order to do a bulk edit, I will show you. So in the bulk edit case, what we have to do is to make a bulk edit of an item that already exists, because if not, also it will show us an error that I will show you later that this item doesn't exist. In this case, I wrote the sample local ID that is the same one that I created, but just to you to know, if you don't remember, you can go inside the item, and here what it wrote is the local ID of the item. So I will go back, and I will start the bulk edit process. So it should change the item that I just created. So here, as you say, it wrote also congratulations, the bulk edit process has been completed. If we go to the admin, we will see here that this is what we have currently in the system, that is the item that I just created by the bulk import. And this is the files that I'm going to edit. As I told you, in this example, for example, I edit the label and the definition, but you can edit one of those. It's not mandatory to edit all the fields when you are doing a bulk import. So as the same that I did it before, I will going to submit. I will approve it in the control body. And finally, I'm gonna publish in the registry manager. So with that, if we go to the content, to the sample register, in the available items, it appears that this item was the one that I created before, the bulk import. So now it appears as a sample item bulk edit, item edited using bulk edit. So this is basically how bulk import and bulk edit works. But before to finish it, I want to show you some errors that can occur, because we have tried to catch all these errors. So if an error occurs because when you create your file, you put information that is wrong, we have made errors, so the user is more simple for them, for the user to know what has happened. So for example, I'm gonna show you a common error that maybe you want to, you want to insert an item that already exists because you didn't remember that you put the same local ID to an item. So in this case, if we try to make a bulk import with the same local ID that already exists, it shows us an error saying the bulk import cannot be complete because the local ID sample item 5 already exists in line 2. In this case, in the error, we want to be as we want to be that the user knows exactly where the error occurred and not in a generic error. So that's why we put the local ID and also the line, so it will be easier for the users to find it. Also, another common error that can happen is, for example, that you try to make a bulk import or a bulk edit and some mandatory fields or required fields, you don't write them. For example, as I told you, the local ID will have always to write the local ID and also the language. In this case, I haven't wrote the language, so I'm going to upload this making a bulk import. And in this case, it says that the bulk cannot be complete because the language is ending in line 2. And another common error that can happen is that we try to make a bulk edit for item that hasn't been created yet. For example, in the example before, I have tried to put to insert this item with example item 7 local ID, but I haven't done it. So in this case, if I try to make a bulk edit or this specific item, it will serve as this error that the bulk edit cannot be complete because the local ID does not exist. So there are many other errors that can occur. These are the more usually that can happen because maybe you forgot that it already exists and so on. And this is basically the functionality of the bulk import and bulk edit process. So my colleague will continue talking about the available formats.
Here we will be using the INSPIRE registry, as it has a lot of content, and we can show you more things about the front end. Okay, this is the landing page. In this case, this is INSPIRE registry. You can change this as configure this in the installation process. In this case, the registry itself has only a basic information as the URI, its label, and its summary. And you can also see some who's managing the registry. Once we come here, we have a table with all the registers that's under this registry. As we can see, we can show more or less entries. It's fully customizable. You can even filter for each label that we want to see. And really, the structure is very similar in every level of the registry, register, and items. In this case, this is the glossary register. As you can see, apart from the URI and the label, the content summary, we have a little bit more information: register manager, the owner, and the control body, as contact information, a content point, license, and insert, and if you want, also the edit date. All these fields can modified, erased, or can be edited as shown previously by Irati. And the table is basically the same. This is showing items. The main difference is we have this status column, which shows the status of every item. In this case, there's all valid, some prototype items. To see the same thing can be filtered by the name. As you can see in the dam or aquifers. The front end itself is self-explanatory. It's just the need information. As Irati has explained, you can show, you can decide which fields to show and which ones to keep private. And lastly, we get a glimpse of a proper item. In this case, the item is really simple. This has the URI, the versioning, label, definition, and status. In this case, you can also see a version item. This will show you which how many versions has any item. As you can see the well, here you can see it in clearer ways. This also shows you these are two items from two different registers. So you can see the structure is completely different from one to the other. It has some more fields. And you can see here the versioning, the versioning of the item. You can see the first version and the modification, and a third modification, which is the last one. Sorry. In this case, you can see, for example, this is the definition. There are some, as you can see here, you can see the insert and the edit date. As already said, it's fully customizable. You can show any fields you want to show or hide them. As you can see, also there are these available formats. This is these are some formats available to download on each level of the registry, not just for the items. You have also the register and the registry. You can always download any information on each of these formats. And we will talk a little bit more about the formats. Here we have basically the XM registry. It's a registry-specific XML format used to to share this information between any registry users. This is there's the XML ISO 1935 geographic register XML. There's also an RDF XML. It's another format of XML, mostly defined by the W3C to express an RDF graph as an XML document. JSON is a text format completely language independent, very used to share information between systems. A comma separated value, CSV, is a text file shown by Irati that has a specific format that allows data to be saved in a table. This export in concrete, the CSV, may be useful if you want to make a bulk import or bulk edit of any item, register or registry, as it has all the needed fields on it. You just need to specify which ones you need to change, import, or whatever you like to do with them. There's also an Atom. It's an XML language used for fits mostly. And Arrowware, it's an Inspire specific format meant to share items through the Inspire applications, as Jordi has also talked about the Federation tool. Next, we have the API Swagger. The registry software is an API-based software. This means that the server accepts custom requests and provides the information based on several parameters, as you can see right here. This makes the software flexible on the way that it shows the information, as the front end is completely insulated from the back end. We provide an example front end, which is what I've shown you, but it's entirely on the end user to use them or modify or make make one from scratch. It's fully customizable. The API Swagger, it's a way to show the developers how to interact with the API. You have a brief explanation of each of the fields you can enter to make a search for some items, as it's just to retrieve information. Just one endpoint is needed to bring all needed data to the front end. And this is what makes the front end fully customizable, as you just need to make any call to this, any request to this API, and it will show you with any combination of items. You will have any information that you need. As you can see, you need just a combination of these. You can have just the URI, the UUID, a language, the format, if you want to retrieve some format. If you want to filter for status, or by item class. If you want to specify an item class, it's also possible. And as for this is the explanation of the front end and the API. I will let my colleagues get to the next part.
I am going to make a brief reminder about the two repositories that we have in GitHub. The code is exposed in the GitHub, the registry code. First, the registry is exposed on a GitHub repository. It's a reusable open source software, so the contributions are welcome. And we have a part that we explain how we can do a contribution in the code, inside the code. Documentation is available, focusing on the different user profiles. The tool can have an administration manual, developer manual, and user manual. This is updated in each of the versions. When new functionality are developed or something like that, we upload this documentation. And also for book reporting and help desk is available in this URL. Proposal and improvements are also welcome. And also to remember that different versions are available in the release section. The latest was in March, the 2.5.3, and the next release is scheduled at the end of June. That will be a major release. Okay, and about the INSPIRE Registry repository, is a different repository in GitHub. The INSPIRE Registry repository is available in this other site. And also we have a help desk that is a space to discuss and propose changes to the content of the INSPIRE Registry. Here you can propose different change proposal in order to publish in the interface of the INSPIRE Registry. And okay, in the INSPIRE Registry release, the latest was in January, and we add different news items and corrections. And the next release, we have an intermediate release to carry out the pending change derived for the amendment of the Commission regulation. And a new release is scheduled for the end of July.